Good morning, students. Welcome to class today. Today is Thursday, January 10th, 2013. And let me quickly make some announcements. You will have a quiz tomorrow, so please make note of that. You will have a quiz tomorrow, and I will be going over what will be on that quiz in just a second. Based on the last video I did, we have nowhere to go but up from there, so hopefully this video will be a little quicker and a little better than the last one. You owe me a homework assignment. I gave you that assignment on Wednesday, yesterday, and it is due today. You've got to get used to this. You should have already done the homework. And at nighttime, Wednesday night, you should have gone to the YouTube account and checked your work to make sure it's accurate. You've got to get used to doing that, okay? And so you did not have to finish it. It was a Wednesday night. If you did, give yourself 2 bonus points in your account. If you did not, you will still get a 100. Please turn those in now to Mr. Harmon. Make sure your name is on those and turn those in now. Okay, let's go ahead and go over the quiz for tomorrow very quickly. Please take your books and turn to page 236. Page 236. I'll wait a couple seconds while you do that. Please turn to page 236. Again, if I go too fast, just have the teacher pause the video. Okay, on the quiz, we are now going to go over the quiz that you'll be taking tomorrow. So on page 236, please look at numbers 14 through 19. 14 through 19. I will give you at least one of those on your quiz. Okay? So make sure you understand those, study those tonight. Those are fair game. Also on the quiz tomorrow, please make note of this. I'm going to give you a triangle like this. I would write this down. I am not going for neatness, as you understand. And a triangle like this, kind of written in their direction. And I will say something like, we'll call this A, B, C, D, E, F. Problems like this will be on the quiz. I will tell you, we'll just say B, C, A is congruent to E, D, F. And that's all I will give you. From there, you must be able to mark. This is all I will give you. And then you, as the student on your quiz, you should be able to mark, okay, B goes with E, put 1 mark there. C goes with D, 2 marks there. B, or excuse me, A, 1, 2, 3 goes with F, 1, 2, 3. You should be able to do that. And then also you should be able to see BC goes with ED, so 1 mark here, 1 mark here. CA goes with DF, so 2 marks here, 2 marks here. And then BA goes with EF, so put 3 marks here on this line. And EF here gets 3 marks. So on the quiz tomorrow, I will expect you to be able to take a statement like this and mark the congruencies. And then, are you ready for this? You should be able to list out the corresponding angles, and you should be able to list out the corresponding sides. So you should be either listening really well right now or taking notes, like you would say angle B is congruent to angle E, so on and so forth. You should be able to state that side BC is congruent to side DE, so on and so forth. Okay, finishing up the quiz review, please turn your books to page 238. Let me get a new page here real quick. That's page 238. Again, for the rest of the year, I'm going for speed, not for being super neat. Page 236, numbers 37 through 40. I will give you at least one of those if you want to glance now at those, where I state that 2 triangles are congruent, and I give you some missing parts and you have to find those. So look at 37 through 40 and make sure you're good to go on those. And then also for your quiz on Friday, problems like 238, numbers 42 through 45. Any of those would be fair game. Okay, so please make sure you study those and are ready for Friday. Okay, students, let's go ahead and start taking notes on today's lesson. We are going to be learning many ways throughout chapter 5 in which to prove that triangles are congruent. Okay, there will be many ways to do this. We are looking at 2 ways today to prove that triangles are congruent, 2 different ways. So if you'll take a second, please, and copy this heading down. 2 ways to prove that triangles are congruent. We're looking at lesson 5.2 today, and the date is the 10th. All right, 2 ways to prove that triangles are congruent. Give you just a second to copy that down, and we're going to move on. Okay, the first method we're going to look at today, now remember this is geometry. It's not like any other math class you're going to take. There will be a lot of writing of definitions, postulates, corollaries, theorems, etc. So I need you to copy this in your notes, okay? This is called the side postulate, or we call it the SSS postulate, and it states the following. If three sides of one triangle are congruent to three sides of a second triangle, then the two triangles have to be congruent. They have to be. So if three sides of one triangle are congruent to three sides of another triangle, then these two triangles have to be congruent. Okay? Now, let's take a look at this with a picture here. There's the words for that. Let me give you a visual of this. So keep copying down that postulate, and when you're finished, I want you to write down these triangles in your notes, okay? We're going to call this triangle CAT and triangle DOG, okay? Now, if you'll notice, as you're finishing copying this postulate and copying these triangles down, again, if I go too fast, just tell the teacher to pause the video. Notice that right here, I have a length of 3, and over here I have a length of 3. This side is a length of 7, this side is a length of 7, this side has a length of 8, and this side has a length of 8. So this triangle has three sides that are congruent or equal to three sides over here. Thus, these two triangles have to be congruent. They have to be. So these two triangles are congruent triangles based on the SSS postulate. Now don't forget what we learned on Wednesday or Tuesday, I think it was. When two triangles are congruent, then all of their parts are congruent. Okay? So let's quickly go ahead and write a triangle congruence. So please write this in your notes. Be very careful now. Okay? Writing this triangle congruent statement will not be as easy as you think, so please listen carefully. First of all, we're going to go ahead and write down triangle CAT is congruent to triangle, and then we're going to stop. Now you could have put CAT, ATC, TAC, TCA. We just chose to put CAT. Okay, now make sure you match up corresponding side with corresponding side. This is not going to be easy because we don't know which angles are congruent to which angles. So be careful. The first letter I wrote is C. Does everybody see that? So angle C right here is made up of what two sides? Side 3 and side 8. Side 3 and side 8. So come over here, and here's side 8 and here's side 3. And what angle is formed by side 3 and side 8? Angle O. So we're going to put O first. Now let's take a look at the next letter, A. Do you see angle A right here? This angle right here. What two sides make that angle? Side number 3 and side number 7. So let's come over here, and here's side number 3, here's side number 7, and of course what angle is formed by side 3 and by side 3 and side 7? Angle D. So D goes next. And then of course last over here is T. Well, the only angle we haven't used yet over here is G. So there we go. You wrote your triangle congruent statement. Alright, let's review very quickly and then we'll continue on. Anytime you have three sides of one triangle congruent to three sides of another triangle, the two triangles have to be congruent. In fact, very quickly, I'm going to go ahead and mark the angles congruent also. I'm going to use a red pen. Angle C is right here. I'm going to put 1 mark. And angle O is right here. I'm going to put 1 mark. Angle A, I'm going to put 2 marks. 1, 2. And what angle goes with angle A? Angle D. So put 2 marks over here. And then T gets 3 marks. And what angle? Here's T. What angle goes with angle T? Angle G. 1, 2, 3. So there we go. Anytime three sides are congruent to three sides, the triangles have to be congruent. Now, very quickly, please copy this in your note. No, let's not. I'll tell you what. Do not copy this in your notes. Just sit back and watch for a second. I want to show you kind of a proof of that postulate. All right, so here's a proof. Please watch this carefully. These two lengths here are congruent. These two lengths here are congruent. And these two lengths here are congruent. Now please watch what I do. If I take one of these sides right here and put it here, and then let's take one of these sides and put it here, and then take one of these sides and put it here. Now it's not going to fit perfectly because I didn't measure everything, but it's pretty close. There we go. Now, if I take those three same sides, remember these three sides here are congruent to these three sides here. Think about it, students. You can take these three sides in any order you want. You can take this one first, and then take this one next, and put it right here, and then take this one right here. You're going to get the same triangle. Okay? So, very quickly, all that we did is take 1, 1, and 1, makes a triangle, and then take that, that, and it makes the exact same triangle. Now some of you will understand why, some of you won't, but all of you can memorize this. Whether you understand why or not, you can all memorize when three sides of one triangle are congruent to three sides of another, then the two triangles have to be congruent. Okay, we said that we're going to be looking at two ways to prove that triangles are congruent, and that's the first way right there, side, side, side postulate. Okay, students, let's continue on. I'd like you to take a second and let's very quickly apply this postulate to one problem that we're going to solve. Then we'll look at the second way to prove that triangles are congruent, and then we'll be finished for the day. Please copy this problem into your notes. A triangle right here that is connected to another triangle, vertices H, J, L, and K. Okay? Be sure and put these marks of congruencies on the triangles. And here's my question to you. Can we state that these two triangles are congruent? Can we state that these two triangles are congruent? Well, we've learned one way so far to state that triangles are congruent, and that's the side, side, side postulate. So let's see if somehow we can prove that all three sides of this triangle are congruent to all three sides of this triangle. So here we go. Please copy this in your notes. My advice to you is to split these two triangles up. So we're going to call this triangle number 1. We're going to call this triangle number 2. And then notice down below here I've split them up. So here's triangle number 1, HJK, it's right here, and here's triangle number 2, JLK, right down here. All right, and please notice also the congruency symbols. So here's one mark on HJ, put a mark here, put two marks here, put two marks here, and one mark here. Now I've just simply taken everything that was up here and brought it down here, but I've ripped these two triangles apart right here. I've ripped them apart. Now, would you please notice that these two triangles share side JK? So here's JK for triangle number 1. Here's JK for triangle number 2. Well, obviously JK and JK are the same side, so they have to be congruent. So I can put 3 slashes there and 3 slashes there. So my question to you is this. Do I have 3 sides here congruent to 3 sides over here? Yes, I do. And anytime one triangle has 3 sides congruent to 3 sides in another triangle, the two triangles have to be congruent. So the answer to this question right here is yes, these two triangles are congruent. And what's the reason for this? The side, side, side postulate. Okay, so you basically just proved that two triangles were congruent. All right, let's continue on in your notes. This is the second way that we're going to learn today to prove that triangles are congruent. The second way. Please copy that in your notes. It is called the side angle side postulate, the SAS postulate. If two sides and the included angle of one triangle are congruent to two sides and the included angle of a second triangle, then the two triangles are congruent. They have to be congruent. They have to be. So please take a second and copy this down. Most students understand math a lot better when they have a picture. So while you're copying this down, I'm going to give you a picture, and I would also encourage you to draw these diagrams in your notes, and here they are. And again, I know I'm going fast. I'm doing that intentionally. Have your teacher pause the video if you need him to. Okay, I have triangle MNO right here. I have triangle XYZ right here. Please notice that I have a side here that is 12, a side here that is 10, and then an angle that is 80 degrees. These three parts are congruent to these three parts over here. Side 12, side 12, side 10, side 10, angle 80 degrees, angle 80 degrees. This next comment I'm going to make is so important. Please listen. It is so important. Students become confused when they can use the Sss postulate, and I'm going to clarify that right now, so please listen carefully. Anytime that you are using side, angle, side, this angle right here that I'm circling in red right now, this angle right here, has to be the angle that these two sides form. Do you see side 12 and side 10, how they touch right here? That's the angle that has to be congruent over here. And do you notice here's side 10 and here's side 12, how they touch right here? And that's the angle where the two sides are touching. So if you have a triangle like this, and you have a side here, we'll say it's 12, and a side over here that's I don't know, 10, and you have an angle down here that's 45 degrees, you do not have side, angle, side, because this angle that you have right here is not the angle that is formed by these two sides touching. This 45 degrees would have to be right here. Then you have side, angle, side. So I hope you understand that. The angle we're talking about has to be the angle that's right where the two sides touch each other right here. Okay, so this is called the side, angle, side postulate. When you have a side and an angle and a side congruent to a side, angle, and side in their triangle, then these two triangles have to be congruent. They have to be. So with that in mind, I would like you to very quickly go ahead and write your triangle congruency statement. Please do that very quickly. We'll come over here. We're going to write triangle MNO is congruent to triangle, and let's see, MNO. Well, the first letter I wrote here was M, and we know that's the angle that's 80 degrees, so the first letter over here I have to put is X. The next letter I wrote is N, and notice that's the side, that's the angle right here that's formed by side 12 and the side that we don't know. So here's side 12 and here's the side we don't know. That would be angle Y, so Y has to come next. And then the next angle is O, and the only angle we've not used yet over here is Z. So there we go. These two triangles are congruent. Okay, so let's continue on. Hopefully you understand what side, angle, side is referring to. Now we are going to do something that all geometry students hate. Those that are gifted and those that are not, it doesn't matter. And that's called a two-column proof. And I know as soon as I say that you cringe, but please stay with me. Hang in there. Take good notes and understand this is part of geometry. Whether you're in a track 1 class or a track 2 class, you have to do two-column proofs. The difference is I will not give you as difficult of problems as the other geometry class will have, but you will still have to do two-column proof. So having said that, go ahead and please copy this down. Here's the diagram I'd like you to copy down. Here is your given right over here. You are given that JL is congruent to NL. You are also given that L right here is the midpoint of KM. So I'm going to circle this for you. This is your given. Please copy all of this down, the diagram and the given. And then we're going to prove that this triangle right here, I'm going to put a little 1 in it, this triangle right here is congruent to this triangle here. Now, I'm not asking you to be able to do this on your own. I'm asking you to follow my steps and at least say to yourself, hey, I wouldn't have thought to have done this, but at least I understand what he's saying as he goes. And if you're doing that, that's the first step to getting to where you can do two-column proofs on your own. Okay? So here's the given. This is what we're going to prove. Here's the diagram. Here's the first thing I'd like you to do. I want you to take your given and put it over here on the diagram. Now here's what I mean by that. Watch carefully. JL is congruent to NL. So JL, put 1 mark here, is congruent to NL. Put 1 mark here. That's called picking up your given and putting it on the diagram. Now look what else they tell you guys. L right here, point L is the midpoint of KM. Now, come on, it's common sense. If L's right in the middle of KM, that means L divides KM into two equal parts. So that means I can say that KL is congruent to LM because L is in the middle of KM. So there, I have taken my given and I have put it or transposed it over here onto my diagram. By the way, look what I have. Remember, if I want to prove these two triangles are congruent, I'm either going to use what? Side, 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 or I'm going to use what? Side, angle, side. Hey, I learned something a long time ago that when two lines intersect, their vertical angles are congruent. That means this angle here is congruent to this angle here, and this angle here is congruent to this angle here. Hey, look. See this line right here? Wow, that's really good. See this line right here, and this line here is intersecting. I could very easily state that this angle here is congruent to this angle here. It looks like I'm going to use side, angle, side. Let's keep that in mind, okay? Not sure why it keeps doing that, but looks like we're going to use side, angle, side. Okay? All right, here we go. So let's continue on. Here's your given, here's your proof, here's your diagram. Pick up your given, put it on your diagram. All right, moving on. Now I want you to go ahead and write statements and reasons, and go ahead and put your lines like you're supposed to. You should have learned last semester from Mrs. Walker that you state your given right here, and then you put the word given over here. So all that you do for your there is no reason for any student on a test or a quiz to miss step one on a proof. Okay, you simply pick up the given right here and you write it right here, and then you write the word given. Okay, so go ahead and copy that down. I know I'm going fast. You can have the teacher pause the video if necessary. All right, now let's continue on. Remember how I said we could state that KL right here is congruent to LM? Well, see if this makes sense. Again, I'm not asking you to be able to do this on your own. I'm saying as I write things down, does it at least make sense? So look at this. Step 2. I'm sorry, let's look at the angles first. I apologize. Look at step 2. Angle JLK, that's this angle right here, and angle NLM, that's this angle right here. I can state that these two angles are congruent. Now if you're going to make a statement like this, you got to tell me why. Give me a reason. Well, here's your reason. You should have learned that last semester. When two lines cross, like these two lines cross here, vertical angles are congruent. So we can state that. As long as you give me a valid reason, you can state whatever you want over here. So that should make sense. Now let's continue on to step 3. And again, I'm not asking you to do this on your own. I'm asking you, do you understand what I'm saying? Now, step 3. KL, right here, has 2 marks on it, is congruent to ML, right here. Well, we can state that. I can state that because definition of midpoint. Remember, up here in your given, it says L is the midpoint of KM. So if L is the midpoint of KM, then that means this segment here has to be congruent to this segment here. How do we know that? Definition of midpoint. Because the definition of midpoint is when a point lies on a line so that it divides the line into equal segments, that point is the midpoint. So I can state that. Now look what you've stated so far. Are you ready? Please watch this. I'm going to circle it for you. You've stated right here that 2 sides are congruent. You stated right here that 2 sides are congruent. And you stated right here that this angle here is congruent to this angle here. So in your proof so far, you have stated what? A side and an angle and a side is congruent to a side, an angle, and a side. So once you state that, you're ready to go ahead and make your final statement. You can now say that this triangle right here, we're going to call that triangle number 1, is congruent to this triangle here, triangle number 2. You can now state that. And what's your reason? Well, side angle side postulate. I'm not asking you to get up and teach the class. I'm not asking you to do this on your own. I'm saying, do you understand at least these steps? And if you do, you're on the first step or the path to understanding how to do two-column proofs. Students, please copy down your homework assignment, page 245. I won't read this. You can copy it down on your own. This is a grand total of 13 problems. I feel like that's very reasonable. Please do your homework. Do all of it. It's due Friday. Please study for your quiz. You have a quiz tomorrow. Please don't forget that. Study for your quiz. Okay? Your seniors, Tara, I'm not sure if you're a junior or senior, but I know 3 of you are seniors, and Tara, junior or senior. Guys, you got to get this stuff, okay? When you go home and do your homework tonight, don't turn the video on and watch. It'll take you forever to do your homework. Do all the problems you know how to do, and the ones you don't know how to do, then watch the video and help yourself learn how to do the problems. I did give you 2 proofs. Again, relax, all right? Just try them, then listen to my explanation, and let's work on getting better at these, okay? And I wish I would have had you guys at the start of the year. We could have, kind of worked through this a little slower, but that's not the case. So there you go. Be ready for class tomorrow. Have a great day, and we will not see you, but I guess we'll have a video ready for you tomorrow.